Guys, we are back with the Strongman Show, episode number 3. I am Uncle Loz. I'm joined by the Caveman, Marcus Charman. Good morning, Marcus. How's things, buddy?
Good morning. Well, I've got a slightly different office for today, and it will be growing. It will be growing and evolving as it sort of goes on. But no, in a new place, away from home, and looking forward to the next couple of weeks now.
You got your own office space now. I like it.
Yeah, office space, segmenting everything, so we got a little bit of work-life balance. I have no idea what that is. People have talked about it for years. Hopefully, I can actually find some now. Yeah,
it's just work right now.
Yeah.
Got it. It's all
it's
good.
Just work in different places.
I have noticed you've had time for a beard trim over there. It's looking shorter.
Yeah, every once in a while I've done this, and it's normally a phase through training. You get through to the end of what I consider to be like a reconditioning phase, and then as the beard grows, I get stronger. So I'm looking forward to seeing what can be done. But no, it's going really well. And the beauty about where I am at the moment, if for anyone that sort of follows on Instagram, I walk straight out of that door and there's a gym and some of the strongest people sort of locally. You got GPC world record holders to train with, so it's not all bad.
Not a bad place then.
No, not a bad place at all.
Good,
very lucky. Very lucky.
Excellent. Right, we've got a few things to discuss this week.
Yep.
We're going to start with Trey and the World Ultimate Strongman. Now, it's silly to sit here and almost be disappointed with 400 kilos for 2 reps, because let's be honest, if any of us posted up that, we'd be over the moon. But I'm sure Trey is disappointed with how he did. We know he's capable of better. I felt desperately for him watching as he was there on his own. I think maybe he had his mum there kind of recording something on her phone, but we've watched all these episodes now, and there's teams around people, they've got groups, there's people to help. The poor kid was on his own, and I'm not going to make excuses for him because he was never going to get the record.
Yeah, but
we know he's capable of better, and just to see. I'm sure there were some people locally that would have been up for maybe just is he too shy to ask, do you think, or kind of too proud to maybe ask for help?
I think it's probably just the remoteness really of where he's at. Yeah, there'd be a few lads around, but you see Trey trains alone.
Yeah,
he's there. Like I've watched all the comments that have rolled in afterwards, and I'll always be protective of this one. Trey's my boy. Since we met him in Stoke, I've always had a soft spot for him because of his attitude towards what he does. So whilst I know the lifts themselves will be under scrutiny because of what we do, that's the whole premise of feats of strength. But one thing stuck in my mind when it came up with when I followed the stream of comments, and one guy just went, "Is this the best that they can do when you're throwing in a wild card?"
So were you watching the Rogue Fitness?
I was.
YouTube comments.
Yeah, I was.
You shouldn't watch that, Marcus.
No, so this was also on a Facebook post.
Okay.
In a strongman focused sort of group.
Yeah.
And that's the only one that boiled me.
Okay.
It's the only one that bored me because the rest of them are nonsense, and you can just pretty much brush those off. But the reason he got the wild card is because of what he posted. Yeah. What he posted was 415 for a triple. And for anyone that has seen that, and I don't know if we can play it in the corner for anyone to actually have a look at, but he just gripped it and ripped it. It was a very, very good lift in the way that he sort of goes about, because he's a very considered linear puller. And what I like about that as well is that, you've mentioned it before in the way that Zydrunas would pull. Mm-hmm. We've seen people attack a bar. And when you've got that much, if something's going to give, iron doesn't really yield too much. Steel doesn't yield too much. The body, however, does. So when you look at him and what he was able to do, you think, okay, he's good. But you also nailed the point in the fact that he'd probably peaked. He's got, 20 days from that lift to try and now better it. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen in a million years. And through Trey's own admission, he programs himself. He does his own planning. He does his own lifting, in terms of he does his own setup, as we've seen. If you can't look at what he's just done and tip a hat and just say, do you know what? There is so much more to come from him. And even with all this, in the, sort of Texas / Alabama heat, this kid pulls a 400 double after the first one, let's be honest, was dogged. And the second one was on point. He is capable of so much. So when you're looking at a wild card, I don't think you'd find a better one right now, because he epitomizes what a strongman is, and that's find a way. I actually thought what he did, regardless of what he's done before, was outstanding. Yes, we want more for him, and I do genuinely think he is capable, based on retraining and repeaking. I do think he's capable of the 4/5.
Yeah,
I think he's got it in him, but this time round, it's a learning curve.
It's something that people don't understand with that kind of weight. Is you don't just walk up to it and lift it every day of the week, And if you do, and if you try to, you notice your performance goes down. Yeah. And your central nervous system gets taxed extremely heavily. You start feeling fatigued. You start getting weaker. Everything starts feeling harder. And that's just fact. It's not something you can get over. That's why Olympic athletes peak once every 4 years. That's why most athletes looking to peak once or twice a year in most sports. And people will look at his 415. And yes, it looked great. His 415 was immense. And he, without question, deserved this shot. The unfortunate situation is it was a very short turnaround.
Yeah.
Ideally, he wants this opportunity 4 months down the line, to really make the time to progress and then peak properly. 6 months down the line, that's the reality. Unfortunately, in real world, that's not what happens. He's been given the opportunity. He'd be foolish to turn it down. He's been able to perform in front of ESPN, live streamed online. More people now know who Trey is. Yeah. I think from watching him, he's picked up a lot more fans, because he's just a lovely kid.
He is.
What?
Yeah, he's a tremendous. When you're looking, he's never going to be a poster child. No, that's not how this works. But if you want someone to hang your hat on, to follow, and to look at a work ethic and be inspired by, he's about as good as it gets, because he's honest. Yeah, really honest. In a world of posting up your best lifts and this, that, and everything else, what you see, even if you're going to do anything, just sit and watch what he did on the day. I'll tell you, the guy's picking up the sort of the 50 kilo plates, all covered in chicken shit and iron rust, and it's just he gets on with it.
I'll tell you something that he'll really benefit from this experience, and a lot of people will kind of go, "What are you on about?" You've got to remember, I've got that first-hand experience of being a top-level athlete. I've competed at the very highest level, and when you're winning and when you're doing great all the time, you can get lazy, because you just think, "Oh, I'm great, and what I'm doing is enough." This is going to make him sit back and think, "Okay, I need to evaluate a few things. Yeah. I need to become, mentally stronger. I need to understand more about how to peak for shows and stuff." And that's not taking anything, because he's done tremendously well already. I mean, he's a World's Strongest Man finalist, and I know we can argue that toss-up with the stone against Novikov. Some people were upset about it, but that was the rules of the competition. Yeah, and he got through. But he's done very well in shows so far, and this is his first sort of major. I don't really want to say setback, because it's not a setback. The guy just pulled 400 for 2. Yeah, but it's probably his first little experience of a little bit of negative feedback, if you like, from the fans and the public, and even guys like ourselves. If we're openly saying we expected more, we know he can do more.
Well, I think we wanted more for him.
Yeah, of course.
And that's. But then we've said before. The precursor to doing something well is to sometimes have a little bit of a knockback. And what he's got is, this will be the first instance, really, in terms of publicly, that the bar has been set. He knew what he wanted to do, and he wasn't able to do it. But what he's going to do is he's going to walk away, and underneath that very sort of, you know, calm, quiet, sort of, you know, soft demeanour, the boy is there's a reason why he's got the nickname Berserker. The guy's a lunatic. Under there, what goes on upstairs when he gets ready to go, you know, he is all fire and brimstone. The boy is a beast. And it's, to put in perspective again, like you just said, he's got through via OSG. He's competed against the best in the world and held his own, more than held his own. What he's been able to do when it comes to the stonework, regardless, you know, rules are rules, but he's gone against one of the very, very best athletes on the planet and beaten him. And it wouldn't have mattered if that dragged on for another minute. The guy would still be there, because I don't know what's in this kid, but by Christ, he doesn't seem to have an end.
Yeah.
Then you look at it for what it is. He has done all this, all of it, off his own back, in the middle of nowhere. No prompts, no carrots, no sticks. This is his own drive. There aren't many people outside of probably some areas of sort of Eastern Europe that can say that. We all look sometimes and say, oh, yeah, it'd be really nice to have this bit of kit. And, oh, I haven't had a training partner for a little while, as we walk into a gym full of kit.
Yeah.
So I think applying what this lad is, and if the right people can support him, there's a diamond here that's waiting to be polished.
Yeah, I think that the positive for him is he's picked up a load of new fans. He's got that opportunity to be seen. He will. The negative, like the negative performances I've had over my career have always been more beneficial to me than the victories, because they make you go away, reevaluate, and come back better. And as long as Trey does that, it's going to be a positive in the long run, and we know what he's capable of.
Yeah,
anyway,
without doubt.
We'll move on to next weekend's event. I'm quite excited about next weekend's World Ultimate Strongman. It's the stone records, and we've got two people going for records. Donna Moore going for the women's stone record. She is just dynamite. If you've not seen Donna lift, please go and watch her Instagram. It's just fun to watch. She gets so fired up. She's such a lovely person, but you see her compete and she just becomes this beast. And then we've got Tom Stoltman going for a 300-kilo Atlas stone, 660-pound Atlas stone.
It's just taking records to a new high. You know, the equivalent on this one is Usain Bolt just coming in and knocking a second off his previous time. You know, it just. I know we've spoken about other stone lifters in the likes of Brian Hathor. They weren't pushed in competition because they normally won and stuff like that. But even when there was records to be made, you know, what was Brian's 250, 254? You know, and I know that you're acclimatizing, and I know that you're working to your environment, so it's obviously going to be heavy because I've not only had to lift up to this point. But in the manner in which Tom does all this, you are looking at a very unique individual. I know it's the whole wingspan, but still, the way he just, you know, octopuses the stone and just manhandles them for fun. He's an incredible boy.
I asked Luke if he'd have had a good at the last stone that he broke, that Tom broke, and I was like, because Luke's a great stone lifter himself.
Yeah, he's big boy.
I was just interested to know if he'd tried it in training. He was like, "I sod that. I haven't tried it." You know, he doesn't even want to go near it. He said it's just.
It's ludicrous, really, when you actually think about the evolution of, you know, we can plot a pretty aggressive path on certain things, you know, with the leap of like the deadlift. But when you actually look at the leap of the stone, that's crazy. That's crazy. And he's very rarely looked and been found wanting at all. He always looks as it's always going to be an amazingly difficult thing to do.
I think it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. And, you know, from watching previous attempts, the way he gets it off the floor is effortless.
Yeah.
Onto the lap is effortless. The only question mark, and I'm sort of just putting this out there just to try and build some kind of anticipation, because I think if he goes and does this exactly the same as the last stone, it's almost going to be boring. But if you watch that last stone, that last 3 to 6 inches was a little bit harder. Now, does an extra 20, 25 kilos affect him that much. And 25 kilos on a top end lift is a massive amount. You know, people talk
a
about
jelly bean on a top end lift can be the difference between getting it and not.
So I don't think it's a guarantee.
No,
but
do you know what? I don't. It sounds people always take this as a negative when you just say, "Do you know what? I can see him not doing it."
Yeah,
because of simply what it is. You know, but it doesn't mean that he won't in the future. But
I'm sat here and I'm really hoping he gets it, and I believe he can. But I'm just kind of, let's get this in perspective. This is a 300 kilo, not a deadlift. This is a 300 kilo Atlas stone.
Yeah,
has anyone out there tried to deadlift 300 kilos? Firstly, that's a feat of strength in itself, right? Then try and do a Zercher squat with 300 kilos.
Yeah.
That's seriously impressive stuff, for anyone that's ever even tried a Zercher squat or just a front squat. Just go and try a front squat with 200 kilos. Let me know how you get on. Then put an extra 100 kilos on top.
Well, the incentive has always been, like, even when I've been training at home and you do the bench and I was doing pin presses and it got to 4 plates, and the incentive to get the lifts each time was the fact that when the rails were there, I'd have to Zercher it back up. I'd put a lot more effort into the bench because I failed a couple of times. And Christ, that's hard.
It is.
And it really is as well, because it's the mechanism in which you're doing it. And when you think this lad, he is a tall boy, and once you are past that area of brace and core, that next, as you say, that next couple of inches where you're having to actually get up to load, that's a real test. And structurally, the guy's incredible. Just to be able to stand that, the moment it's over his abdomen, I think is just that in itself is a miracle that he can withstand it.
Yeah.
But the fact that he is grabbing these and manhandling the way he does is just beyond belief. As I say, it's at such a point now where this isn't a strength thing. This is a little bit of technical. This is a little bit of body conditioning. The whole works. It's at such a weight now that there's so much that could possibly go wrong. And as I say, I don't think it's a given. As good as he is, I don't think it's a given. I have no doubt this lad will, take 300 kilos. And do you know what? I think once he does, again, in his head, because he's made this his own, he is the king of stones, I think he will look at things as, all right, okay, where can I take this? Where can I leave a marker for the rest of mankind to go? And I don't think this is where he's going to stop. But this weekend, I just don't think that it's a given.
No, I agree. I don't think it was a given. I disagree slightly, and I don't think he should keep focusing on the stone. And
I don't think it's something that I think he should do, but I think it's something he may well do.
Yeah, maybe. I think he's got to keep trying. There's got to become a point where you're satisfied with it, and then you've got to think about the overall initial goal. And his goal has to be to win World Strongest.
Win Worlds. Yeah.
And I don't want him to get distracted on that fact, just chasing a stone record, because as amazing as the stone record is, that's not going to cement his legacy.
No, I want to see a Stoltman at Arnold's as well.
I'd love to see more British guys doing the Arnold's, to be honest. It's obviously the qualifying process. And next year, all things, hopefully being well, we do have the Arnold's in the UK, which is a qualifier then for the main Arnold's. So hopefully we will see some top British athletes competing over there. Yeah. Before we move on from Worcester, let's just talk a little bit about Donna as well.
Yes.
Donna is just, she's an incredible all-round. She's a proper strength athlete. She's good all-round. She's not like the biggest deadlifter, the biggest squatter, the biggest presser. She's an exceptionally good all-round athlete, wins many, many competitions. I think, is she 3 times World's Strongest Woman now?
Yes. She's 3 times World's Strongest Woman. And what she is, like I speak about this quite a lot, there's a difference between a winner and a champion. She's a champion.
She is.
And if you follow any of the women's side of strength sports, you'll know who Donna Moore is, because Donna Moore has been one of the people that, by her actions, not her words, has helped shape the landscape. We've seen lots of people talk a good game. We've seen lots of people hype it up. She just gets out there and does it. Yeah. She's carved her name into the sort of legacy of the sport and the fabric of the sport. But for anyone that's ever met her, she is just a brilliant person to be around. She is that person you want at the front end of the sport, just championing it on, because it's a case of she's got time for everyone. I don't think she's forgotten her beginnings at all.
No.
I think that's one of the reasons why she is as good as she is, and why she's got that repetition of being able to come back and constantly perform. But as you say, she's a great one to look at in being rounded, because there are very, very few weak spots within her armory, and where, again, she just counters everything else with work ethic, and she turns up on the day time and time again.
Yeah, she's a real professional, and like you say, just we obviously we both know most of these people, quite well, and Donna obviously spent a lot of time with her. She just is a genuinely lovely person away from competition, but in competition. I just love the kind of the stomping and the kind of aggressive growling. She goes to that like inner deep place to bring the best out of her, and it's entertaining to watch. Actually, I find it entertaining.
Yeah, and when you're around, as I say, we've done something before, haven't we, where we got us all in a room, and regardless of who's there, and regardless of the people that we got, the moment she does a little bit of a little pirouette at the end and then storms towards that log, hairs are up.
Yeah. And it's like, and everyone's watching.
Exactly that. Everyone's watching, regardless of what you've done and where you've been. It's all eyes. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, we've got a show on now.
We do.
Let's go. And it's a great thing.
I think it's going to be a good weekend. I'm looking forward to both attempts, and I really hope they both get it. But they're tough records. We've seen last weekend that these records aren't always a given. So, no,
I'm going to say with Tom's, I think I'm 75% certain he will get it, but I'm putting in the fact that this is, because of what it is. It's not a given, and it's just that, as you say, it's just that. What can you recondition in the time that he's had? Because, again, it's not been that long. There's other things to worry about. He'll have worlds on his mind as well, because he'll be looking at it this year.
That's closing in as well.
Yeah, he'll be looking at it this year just saying, do you know what, this is
I've got
mine.
A chance. Yeah.
Yeah. I thoroughly think that it's in his head, as it should be. This is mine now. This is mine. The door is open. I'm going all in. Donna's, I think she'll get it. I really do. The lack of competition, the lack of things to focus on, and you give any of these top level women a singular focus for something for them to do, because they've just been sort of kicking their heels, getting a bit frustrated, and also the character that she is when she turns up on the day.
I need to double check, but I think it's 170 kilo stone she's going for. Yeah. You ever lifted a 170 stone?
No.
So it's
that's well, you know my aversion to stones, unless I've actually got them in competition, but it's.
I think I remember you coming down for a training session. I was like, lads, let's do some stones. Marcus sort of just drifted away towards the bodybuilding machines.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. For all the competitions that we've ever had to do, I think the most we've ever had is a final stone at 160. Most of the stuff is at 140. And it's just a case of, right, 3 weeks out, we'll have a little dabble. I should be slightly more professional at it, but I still haven't walked away.
That's why you're this side talking about it with me now. And
yeah.
Not on Donna's side doing the record.
No,
right,
one leave that to her.
I wanted to bring up Lasha Talakhadze. Have you seen this incredible weightlifter? I've mentioned before I'd love to see this guy come and do strongman.
Yeah.
Have you seen the video this weekend of him snatching 222 kilos and making it look
easy? Yeah. It's just mind blowing what this guy has done. It is literally sort of a stroll in. There you go.
Yeah.
And I got something to do now.
I did a video recently on people I'd like to see in strongman, and if I'm totally honest, this is the one guy that I believe, out of all the, that we talk about, like the Larry Wheels and so many other big names in powerlifting and other sports, but this is the guy that could transition very, very quickly. I believe, give him 1 year focused on strongman, I think he'd be a world-class athlete.
Yeah, he's a modern day.
He's already a world-class athlete.
Yeah. He's world record holder, multiple title holder. But what you've got in him is, and I don't think it's too much of a stretch at all, but you've got a modern day Kakayev that's got the benefit of knowing what other people have done before. And
Sure.
I think if he did make that transition, you've only got to look at his body to know, do you know what? Actually, I think, one, he can carry weight really well. He doesn't look like a Larry Wheels. Larry Wheels comes in, that guy is a racehorse.
Yeah.
You know, he only needs one little bit of the track, the ground to be too soft, and all of a sudden he's tearing out. Whereas this lad just looks, it doesn't really make a difference. You put anything in front of him, he looks like he's going to mow it down.
Yeah.
You know, he's just, you know, as you say, a solid year of reconditioning purely for this sport, the event techniques, you know, to get dialed in, of which I would imagine, will be exceptionally adept. You look at the way that, like, Luke Richardson, from that mentality, comes in, analyses it, learns it, doesn't make mistakes, then makes mistakes, then perfects it. You know, I can't see this guy being any different because of the nature of how he lifts.
Yeah.
But you watch him perform, and you look at everything in terms of his structure through to the weight that he carries and the way that he carries it. Yeah, I think you've got someone that would be an absolutely outstanding
looks like a
strongman.
naturally big strong man.
Yeah.
I mean, weightlifters, obviously, the technique is so important, and they do tend to make things look comfortable. And then, you know, 1 kilo can make a big difference at that level.
Yeah.
The weights that he's still managing to throw around. I mean, you see him snatch 210, for instance. It just looks effortless, and we're talking, you know, almost record level. He opens in competition on almost like record levels. It's just we've never seen anything like it in terms of, especially his clean and jerk's incredible as well. It's just his all round ability, but I think it would just transfer exceptionally well to strongman. Weightlifters tend to be able to cross over the best into strongman. From all the other sports. If you look through the history, I mean, there's some great powerlifters, don't get me wrong, but if you look at the speed that a weightlifter can transition, they're just naturally that little bit more athletic. They're a little bit quicker, and they can just transfer very, very fast from those, you know, exceptionally honed skills that they have. But they cross over very quickly. I mean, look at past weightlifters. You know, you go back to Bruce Wilhelm, winner of the first World's Strongest Man. He was a weightlifter. You look at Kuklayev, like you say, you know, Raymond Bergmanis, he was a great weightlifter, came into strongman, and you know, they adapt quickly. It's not like they've
notice one thing as well with all the weightlifters, their attitude towards the bar as well. They always look comfortable, like really comfortable. Well, you'll get guys getting hyped, but because of their ability and their technical ability, the moment they go to that bar, that's something that they own. That's something that they manipulate. So the way that they go and handle weight I always feel is different. And you will see these guys with a smile. Yeah. You know, even you go to people like Klokov, and the way that, you know, with what
another great athlete there.
Just typing Klokov strict press, it's just mind blowing what these guys can do. But I do think your demeanor, I do think your attitude towards weight is all part and parcel of this, especially when it comes to strength sports. And the weightlifters just seem to have this, it's not even a confidence, it's just, this is what I do. Yep. I'm made to do this.
One thing that is exceptional about weightlifters is the focus on technique. And I mean, when we had the 2012 Olympics in the UK, I was actually approached to see if I wanted to compete in weightlifting. And I turned it down because I was so inflexible. I was just so, you know, poor in the movements. And I honestly believe it's one of those things. If you want to be elite level, you have to start at a young age and master the movement, have that flexibility. You know, you look at the countries that do well in weightlifting, these kids are starting at a young age.
Yeah.
And it's before they get weight on the bar, they're mastering movement.
Yeah.
And
by the time you're a few years deep into it, in most other sports as well, too many compromises have been made.
Yeah.
And that's where these guys, they stand up against a lot of the guys that are just strong. Because their bodies obviously have miles on them, but because it's a technical sport in the way that it's got, you know, there's so much scope for that body to do more.
I mean, some of them burn out quickly. To be fair, you see, like some of the if you look at some of the best weightlifters, they're world champion by early 20s, and done.
But again, you look at the starting point. They've still put 9 years in.
well, sometimes
It's still
longer
a
than
9-year
that.
journey.
You look at some of these Chinese; they're starting at 3. You know?
Yeah,
It's it tends to, you tend to, in all the strength sports, I think there's that kind of, especially if you're pushing to those extremes. You know, you're pushing world record numbers. It's going to take its toll on your body. But anyway, he's just someone I love watching weightlifting. They just make it look so effortless, and I think the purity of just a man and the weight going from the floor to overhead, or a woman, you know, just whereas with, I guess my favorite powerlifting movement is the deadlift as well, because of that. It's just a bar and the person, whereas the benching and the squatting, you got all the people around spotting, you got the equipment to focus on. I think I just enjoy that purity of
unless you're Trey. There's no one around.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean with you know, say your squats, you've got like the monoliths or the racks and bench, whereas
the ability just to walk up to something and take
from the floor all the way to overhead, it's just impressive.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal thing to watch.
I'd love to get him on a log and see how long it would take to get that power transitioning into.
Yeah, because I say we've had this because who's the Maddox, Julius Maddox, and you see all the hype surrounding that because of one thing in terms of the bench. But do you know what? If you were to ask me what would I actually want to see, who do I actually think would translate the best? I will go with I'll go with the. Is he Georgian?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Constantine, have a word, mate. Seriously, Constantine, get the lad in. Have a word. Get him part of this camp. We were speaking the other day, just saying, there aren't sort of many people that, after Constantine, in terms of Georgia's strongest man, what we got? In terms of, okay, we may not have heard of them. There might be a couple, but get this lad in your facility. Get him training.
I was talking to Constantine the other day. I was trying to get him onto the Talking Strongman show, and he's really worried about his English. So we're maybe going to do something in person when we see him, just like a quick interview or something. But
which is brilliant because he's just a brilliant, lovely lad to have around as well.
Yeah, he's lovely. He's worried that his English would let him down, and I was like, don't be silly, but I totally get it. So he's a great kid, and I mean, unbelievably strong. But there's some incredible Georgians, in weightlifting and wrestling. Those kind of sports they excel at, and that is one guy I think that could cross over to strongman exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to have a new little feature on the Strongman Show. It's going to be Caveman Corner.
I've never been so nervous.
You're nervous. So Marcus, Marcus obviously follows, you make it your business to see what's going on in the strongman world, from top level all the way to beginners. Obviously with Team Affinity and stuff like that, you get a lot of contacts, and you've mentioned so many guys that I haven't even heard of. So I thought we'll give Marcus an opportunity weekly to give a lesser known athlete a spotlight. So this week I'm going to pass it over to you, Marcus. Caveman Corner, away you go.
It's one of the parts that comes with the job. You get to travel, you get to go to competitions, and whether it be a top level competition all the way through to a local competition, or traveling the world to places like OSG, you get to see these tremendous athletes compete, and there's a few standouts for me last year. One of the guys that we're going to look at in a couple of weeks' time is Tommy Lynn Lavelle. He's a guy that trains out in New York. He's one of the lightweight athletes. He's not a young lad, in terms of he's not in his 20s or something like that. This is a guy that came into the sport, and when you actually look at the guy, he's a cool cat. Hairdresser as well. An actual
no use for me.
Oh no, I'm pretty much ruined now as well. But I like the characters that you see, but what you'll see the Jekyll. I love the Jekyll and Hyde character. I love the dude that you see behind the scenes, all zenned out, or got a little bit about him, lots of conversation, and then it's a click, switch on, and you just watch someone go. I think one of the guys that we'd be looking at, and I think a lot of people will know who he is in terms of Anthony Furman, but OSG last year, there was a standout for me. There was one athlete in the men's, which was he was a wow. Watching someone go about it, not like a job, it was a mission. And he competed like no one else was there. He competed like he had something to do that no one else was on the same page with in the way that he attacked everything. The hardest part of all this as well, and is saying his name and trying to do it justice, but Ngarimu Ahipene. It's about as close as I'm going to get. And I know Nuddy is probably just going to say, hey, write it off. Yeah. But this is a kid that came out of New Zealand, Aotearoa, I think is the correct pronunciation for it. He now lives in Western Australia. He's competed for Injustice CrossFit. He made the CrossFit Games, which gives you an idea of the level of athlete this kid is. And I say kid, he's in his mid-30s, but I'm an old man, so I can probably get away with that. But I'll hand you over to Nuddy. This is a little bit about him. He will say his piece, and then it's just a case of watch what this kid can do.
Kia ora no te whānau, ko Ngarimu Ahipene tōku ingoa. My name is Ngarimu Ahipene. I'm the current OSG World's Strongest Man under 90 kgs. A little bit about myself. So I'm originally from a small town called Rotorua in New Zealand. I've been living in Australia here now for 8 years. Trained out of a gym called Injustice CrossFit here in Perth. I've got a beautiful wife and 3 beautiful daughters. So a bit about my athletic background before Strongman. I competed in CrossFit and managed to go to the CrossFit Games in 2017 and compete there with my team. Strongman was always something that I was really interested, though, sort of being introduced to it through CrossFit. So when we returned from the Games, I just jumped into my first Strongman competition and I've loved it ever since. So I had a pretty amazing year last year. I managed to win the ASA national title here in Australia and the Australian Arnold. Managed to take that out, so that was really cool. I also managed to break the axle press world record for the under 90 kg division, which was a really amazing experience. Lifted 166 kilo axle. Some of my other favorite gym lifts I think would have to be, I managed to load a 200 kg Atlas stone over 1.2 meters earlier this year, and also just recently lifted a 100 kg monster dumbbell. So those are some of my favorite lifts. I guess probably the biggest reason that I like doing Strongman is the community around it. I have an amazing supportive community around me that I just I couldn't do any of this without. And also recently some of the feedback I've had and been able to have a positive impact on other people and being able to inspire other people to push themselves is sort of a huge motivating factor for me to continue on pushing myself. So I just want to say a massive shout out to Marcus and Loz for having me on the channel. I really appreciate the opportunity. I think it's a really awesome idea for the show, and I can't wait to see some of the content that comes out on the channel in the future. Cheers!
Let's go! Come on! Yes! Get it up! You got this! Up, 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 over! Oh yeah!
This is a world record attempt. 166 kilos on the bar here. Yeah!
So if you can watch this, if you've just seen that and you can't be sort of wowed and amazed, and he's a cool cat as well. That always goes with it, because he's just, this is what I do, and it's just phenomenal. But actually watching him in competition, it's something else. I was stood there over a course of 3 days, 300-400 people, and literally the standout athlete of the tournament for me.
Well, until you mentioned him to me, I didn't have a clue who he was, to be quite honest. And when you told me about him the other day, I was flicking through his Instagram, watching his videos, and just an incredible athlete. You see some of the weights lifting, and like you say, he's just a cool dude with it all. Yeah,
world record axle 162 kilos at under 90, but it's you're not watching someone shaking and shuddering under it. It's like manhandled, thrown up, and it's the confidence. But again, we spoke earlier about the weightlifting side of it. In terms of studied, disciplined, dialed in and being effective. Nuddy is just one of the guys that he's made it his own. There is a real air of confidence about what he does, because it's surprising, isn't it? The luckier, the more he practices, the luckier he gets.
It's funny how that happens.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. So every week we're going to have a featured athlete on the Caveman Corner. Remember to comment below if you guys think there's people that you want myself and Marcus checking out. Marcus does have a pretty long list of guys and girls that we're going to, and again, we're not just looking at the heavyweights. We're going to be looking at the females, the lighter weight categories, giving the whole of like strongman and the profile of these athletes a little boost, because that's what we all want. We want to see the sport growing, people being recognized for these immensely impressive things that they do. So don't forget to comment below and let us know who you'd like us to take a look at.
A quick shout out, I think, just goes to some of the girls that have qualified, because we had the England qualifiers over the weekend. So we got some of the usual runners and riders as well, like the Chloe Brennans, Shannon, Siobhan. And I think what we do is, just as we get closer to Britain's, we'll have a little bit of a look through some of those girls as well, because of what they've done. Gemma Ferguson's, your Meaties and stuff like that. It's just there's some incredible girls on our own shores as well, and it's nice to see the familiar faces coming back in, because it means you have that sport retention, and I think that's important as this all sort of progresses. But there's a few new names in there as well, and also some real people to keep an eye on as well. The development's been phenomenal. One special shout goes to Annabelle Chapman as well. If you want to keep an eye on, someone that's going to break into that opens category and take on the likes of Donna and Andrea going forward, Annabelle Chapman could be one to watch.
Which qualifier was she doing?
Which was she'd be in the Northern Opens, I think.
Okay. Because there was a few going on. I had one of my girls qualify from the Midlands. I think she competed, and was it Ant Brown's contest?
Ant Brown's, 100% CA.
Yeah. So she qualified through that. Rachel, she's had a terrible year with knee injuries and stuff like that.
Is that Rachel Canham?
Yes, and she's doing brilliant. Everyone was saying the improvement in her confidence and things, which has been awesome for me to see, and I think she can go on and do pretty well in the finals. I'm not sure if the likes of Andrea and Donna are going to be doing it yet, so
I think
that's going to be.
I don't know if, I think Andrea might be up for maybe Britain's. Maybe
we'll talk to her. We'll talk to her. It'd be good to see.
What would that be? That'd be 5 times, wouldn't it? 5 times.
5 times. Well, yeah.
Which I can you turn that down? I don't think you can really.
It depends. With Andrea, it depends what kind of mood she's in. She gets her head focused on one thing, and then she wants to. One minute she wants to be the world record holder in the deadlift. The next minute she wants to be doing CrossFit. The next minute she wants to be on stage as a bodybuilder. So when she's focused on something,
I think having that. How many times did you win Britain's?
We'll try and convince her.
But hats off to all your promoters. What is it? The one down in Basingstoke, Ant Brown for 100% CA. Chaos put the others for the Northern. It is tough at the moment. It is tough. You get all the runners and riders from all over the country trying to get to places.
It's so hard because things are having to change last minute. It's the worst possible year to be running shows. So just to make them happen at all has been great. And I know as athletes, you guys have had to sort of adapt your training. it's really hard to peak because dates change all the time. So it has been hard. And hats off to all of you that have managed to do it, because it's really been a tough year. Hopefully these final shows of the year do go ahead. We get to see, Britain's Strongest Woman. Obviously, we all want World's Strongest Man to happen. There's still, with things changing,
there's probably a little bit of doubt over that, just in the way that week to week everything changes. But obviously, we're in a bit of a decline at the moment in terms of probably optimism.
I think,
which is a shame. But I
think all you can do as an athlete is stay prepared, stay ready, and if that opportunity arises, take it with both hands.
Yeah, I think when you say about looking out for athletes, even just across the board, it's been really interesting to see how some of the top tier athletes have gone about it. You get a greater understanding, and there's certain people which you're drawn to again because of their attitude. And I know that he's going to be sort of heading towards the Masters category soon. But again, whilst he's a top level athlete and a known name, I please just give a round of applause for Jerry Pritchett in some of the most boiling hot, hell-like conditions, and this guy doesn't yield. He doesn't give an inch. And again, special little tip of the hat to Bubba as well, his son, that's keeping up with him. Yeah, incredible bunch of lads to watch. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what, if we can sit back in a few years' time and that lad, becomes one of the youngest guys to ever make Worlds, I'll be, I might even have a drink again. I might even just raise a glass to the lad because it would be fantastic to see.
Yeah, I mean, another guy that just seems to just be having fun and enjoying competing regularly again at the moment is Zadrunas. Every weekend he seems to be winning something. I'm like, I thought you were taking it easy, mate.
Is this the beauty about having this, the power and sway that Zadrunas has? Because we already know that he puts on competitions. He's got this network of athletes that will all come sort of running. There's probably a little bit more flexibility, I think, for the countries, sort of out that way as well, Lithuania and so on and so forth, which is, I suppose the beauty about being a bit more rural as well. But fair play to Zadrunas, because it's nice to see, one, you're in the mix, because
it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if he gets an invite to Worlds and if he goes or not. Do you think he would?
When's Brian's?
It's December, isn't it?
I'm going to say no.
You think he'll focus on that?
But yeah, if you got the call, it's a bit of a boys' club, that one. It is a bit of a boys' club. But at the same time, you don't want to turn up with your mates and be in shit order.
Sure.
And if Zadrunas did Worlds, which is one, it's going to essentially be 3 weeks earlier, it's going to, you can't, no matter how good he is, he can't cheat time.
No, but I mean, Zadrunas is a bit of an enigma because he competes regardless of what shape he's in. He's not been in shape for the last 4 or 5 years, and he still keeps turning up to shows. I've asked him myself. I
think that log always held him back because every time he came into a competition, someone was expecting him to do a log, and he's depleted 99% of the time. Whereas he actually now has had a decent sort of off. He's building his strength up. He's getting into the competitions, and I think that's your event training. The competitions that he's got on at the moment, they're event training for him. Yeah. Even as a master. But he looks in good order.
Yeah, he does.
And do you know what? A dangerous Zadrunas is a smiling Zadrunas. Yeah, when you see the Rise smile, I am happy to compete.
I'm very happy.
Very happy. Yeah. I'm just happy to compete again. It's just, that's to me is, he's the Father Christmas of Strongman, isn't he?
When you speak to Zadrunas, and I mean, I've had this conversation with him. I was like, why do you keep going? You've got nothing to prove. You've won everything. He goes, I like it.
Yeah.
And then you can't argue with that. If the guy he still likes competing, even though he's not.
Well, that's the thing. If you think of Christmas and Santa Claus in a big red outfit, if you can't think of Strongman and Zadrunas is the first sort of that's what he is. And that's what I love about it as well, because I know you said this before. in terms of like, the entry into Masters. If you're not on it doesn't appeal to you.
No.
But to this bloke, it's just, I just enjoy it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as I can do something, as long as I can be in the mix, as long as I can compete, and I don't care about the outcome. I just want to be part of it. Yeah. Mate, I've got a special sort of love for that.
Oh, indeed, 100%, mate. Is there any other news you wanted to bring up before we end it for this week?
No, I think women's is covered. As I say, the whole sort of highs and lows from the weekend. The rest of it, I'm going to have a quick look across the pond, see what's going on in the US, because I know that they got competitions coming up. Yeah. I've been watching, obviously, and tracking Evan's work. And what I loved about your interview with him as well, we get to see the real Evan. You get to see the person that I know, which I find completely endearing. He's a great, great kid. Yes. And I know that Giants and I know that promoters are always going to push this WWE angle, but I just wish people would just let him be who he is, because he is someone
when you see him behind the scenes, he is just a lovely, lovely kid. Very respectful, very, very...
He's got the biggest heart. He really, truly has. Loads of people won't know this. Last year going into Giants in Manchester, I'm at the sort of wit's end when it comes through to having to sort of move around the country, and I didn't really have much. But he wanted me there because I'd picked him up and we did a little bit of sightseeing. Just don't worry about the room. Don't worry about the room. Just share the bed. And you've got this absolute unit of a dude. And for all the jokes and bits and pieces, where do I find him in the morning? Absolutely teetering on the edge of the bed to give me as much sort of room and space as possible. But he's like the sweetest, huge younger brother you could ask for.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that people are starting to see, the rest of it is just shits and giggles. He likes having a laugh and he likes poking people with sticks. But what's in here,
you see him with him and Luke Richardson. They always have banter going back and forward. But it is just that they're great mates behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's no different. If I can't pick up a phone to some of my mates and there's not an abusive term at the start of it, something's wrong. I know something's up. But no, so watching these guys get ready, I think we just keep an eye on what's going on around the globe. And as I say, if anyone's got any competitions that they want a little bit of an eye on, drop us a line.
Yeah, just make sure you comment, guys. Let us know what you want to see. I hope you've enjoyed episode number 3 from me, Uncle Loz, and the Caveman, Marcus Charman. We will be back next week. And Marcus will be, you won't be washing your beard next Monday then?
No. It might just get a bit of a trim up now.
Excellent. Right, guys, take care. We'll catch you soon.